You're watching Beyond Markets, where we bring you up to speed on development outcomes in West Africa. I'm Kenneth Iboma. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today. Coming up on the show, we'll discuss what the next steps are for Nigeria's Presidential Power Initiative. You can join the discussion and let us know what you think. The hashtag to use is Beyond Markets. You can also hit me up on my handle. That's at Kenneth Iboma. Now, Nigeria's approval of Siemens pre-engineering contract signals the initial step in the Presidential Power Initiative, which aims to upgrade Nigeria's electricity network to achieve an operational capacity of 25,000 megawatts through a series of projects spanning 3 phases. To bring us up to speed on the development, I have Oludayo Orolu. He handles the business development and government affairs at Siemens. He joins me now for this discussion. Thank you so much for your time today on Beyond Markets, Dayo. And first, let's start from when this kicked off and last year and the thinking behind the Presidential Power Initiative.
Okay, thank you, Kenneth, for having me. The Presidential Power Initiative actually started with the visit of the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel, to President Buhari in August 2018. It was then that a discussion was held around Germany supporting Nigeria to resolve the problems facing the power sector in Nigeria. And Siemens being the global powerhouse for power engineering, power technology, electrification, we were invited to that discussions, and we took it further with the government of Nigeria, and we have worked together with all the stakeholders, the electricity distribution companies, the transmission company of Nigeria, the Board of Public Enterprise, who owns equity on behalf of the federal government in all the discourse, the regulator, the National Electricity Regulatory Commission, the Ministry of Power, and several other stakeholders since then to align the proposed solutions, to dissect, first of all, the immediate priority within the network, and to bring those solutions together, which now formed the basis of the Presidential Power Initiative, which we are executing right now.
All right, now let's look at the goal now. We're trying to secure affordable and reliable power. Why has this been so hard in Nigeria all this while?
I think the unbundling of the power sector in 2013, now took the control away from a single entity called NEPA, later Power Holding Company of Nigeria. You now have different stakeholders in the generation. You have the TCN, which is owned by the government, in charge of the transmission. Then you have different stakeholders, holding the different 11 discos in different parts of Nigeria. So you have EcoDisco, for instance, focusing on their region within Lagos. You have Yola focusing on their region in Yola. And there are different problems starting from infrastructure decay over the years. You have market issues, the issues of tariffs, issues of regulations, issues of energy theft, and several other factors that have affected this sector in the past 5 to 7 years. And so with Siemens intervention, well, the first thing we did was to bring all the stakeholders together, to a round table to let us speak to each other. You have the discourse there, you have the transmission, you have the ministry. Even at some point, we interacted with stakeholders in the generation side just to get everybody's viewpoint. And we're able to align, okay, what are the immediate priorities? So you have stranded capacity in the grid. You have misalignment between generation to transmission, between transmission to distribution, and also issues from distribution to the end consumers. Okay, so we decided to let's start taking it from making the grid more efficient. Okay, so let's reinforce the grid to be able to accommodate the stranded capacity. Okay, so we are moving if you take note, we are saying that we are improving on the operational capacity of the grid. So it means that if you have a grid that has a capacity of 7,000 megawatts at transmission, then that 7,000 megawatts should be able to be evacuated and dispatched to end consumers so that the end consumers can also feel the impact of having 7,000 megawatts capacity in the grid. That is not what it's currently obtainable. You have a station whereby you have capacity of 7,000 or more, and what gets to end consumers is around 4,000 or less than 4,000 or just a little above 4,000. So our immediate objective is to move that operational capacity in the grid to 7,000 megawatts in phase one. Then phase two will be to move that to 11,000 megawatts, and eventually.
All right, Dayo, but in your engagement with the stakeholders, I'm trying to understand the sort of feedback you are getting from them and what some of the gray areas that they have highlighted that you think might be problematic going along the line.
So one of the big issues was the interface between transmission and distribution. You know, the DisCos are, of course, we are aware DisCos reject power from time to time, but why are DisCos rejecting power? Okay, so we have very weak network between the interface between the transmission network and the distribution network. Also, the quality of power, you know, is one of the reasons. You have also consumers, the industrial consumers, for instance, you know, switching off the grid and relying on alternative power supply for their manufacturing, for their production, because of the poor quality of power coming from the network. So these are some of the issues from the technical side. You know, you also have infrastructure that have been built over several decades that now need to be upgraded or need to be refurbished. And we also have latest technology. So some of the technologies in the sector are obsolete. So we need to replace those technologies with latest technologies that can also stand the test of time. Of course, there are also other commercial and economic issues that are affecting the market. I mean, issue of tariff, issue of, I mean, that's cost reflective tariff now, issue of, you know, FX and several other things that are not within the purview of Siemens. But from the technology perspective, it's more of having very weak grid network, the interface between transmission and distribution, the quality of power, okay? And you also have the issue of energy theft as well, which regulation will have to come in place to address. Issue of collections, commercial, that is billing and collections as well, whereby the DisCos problems billing the power that has been supplied, also collecting revenue for power that has been supplied and consumed. So it's quite a number of issues facing the sector, and which we are trying to now take one after the other through the PPI.
All right, Diane, in the course of this conversation, we'll try as much as possible to address each of some of those you know, challenges there. But for now, I would like to first know what this initial phase of this approval, what it means, you know, this pre-engineering contract, and I'd like to speak on the importance of this approval phase and what it means.
Okay, thank you very much. The pre-engineering contract covers 4 work scope. One is network development studies and power simulation. So we're starting with studies looking at the 25,000 megawatt scenario that has been set as the target for the Presidential Power Initiative. So in that case, our experts are going to be looking at the existing infrastructure from generation to transmission to distribution, also be looking at projects that are under development, and also those that are still you know, in discussion at concept stage, so that they can plan and advise the stakeholders on the kind of infrastructure that needs to be in place to be able to, for Nigeria to be able to generate, transmit, and distribute the 25,000 megawatts that we are planning for the PPI. Another part of that, it's also on power simulation. So we'll be giving licenses to the DisCos, the TCN, and the regulator on power system simulation. And Siemens will also be training, coaching, and providing technical support to those employees from the utilities and the regulator over a period of 4 years, so that we have sufficient local capacity on that topic of power simulation, network flow analysis and planning, and to be able to effectively manage the network grid for Nigeria. Another part is also on the meter data management system, which is part of the PPI project. And under this pre-engineering, we'll be having a pilot project for that. It's going to be an avenue for us to build the project and for all the stakeholders to have an opportunity to review the system, for us to test run the system, for us to take feedback from the stakeholders, from all the users, and so that we can have a system that is suitable for our circumstances in Nigeria, and that can now be scaled up significantly during the implementation of the PPI. And also for our transmission and distribution systems, we'll be doing engineering, a lot of engineering design for all the projects that have been identified for phase 1 of the PPI. So all the substations that will be upgraded, all the substations that will be newly built, all the transformers, all the equipment, protection and control equipment, all the products that will be supplied. We'll be doing engineering design of all of that, just in preparation for full execution of the Presidential Power Initiative, for the phase 1 part of that.
All right, I needed to hold that thought for a while. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, I'm going to ask you why it took this long to get this first phase going. Stick around.
It's not a question of place.
It's not a question of temperature.
It's not a question of dedication. In fact, it's not a question at all.
Energy has to be better.
It's our responsibility.
And our commitment
To make it better.
For all of us.
Total, committed to better energy.
1, 2. You weren't there.
You weren't there when humans conquered fire, when they wore animal skin attire or invented the bicycle tire. You weren't there when they created algebra, built the pyramids in Giza, or painted the Mona Lisa. You weren't there when they first made paper or built the amphitheater, when they calculated gravity or made flying reality. You weren't there when they composed the classics or discovered antibiotics, made the mechanical clock, or taught the world to rock. But you could be there and with your own eyes witness new acts of human genius. Be there to see the alliance of art, music, fashion, and science. See a futuristic festival filled with ideas new and radical. Performance is magical in a 6-month-long spectacle. This you can't afford to miss. It's the best of humankind in the greatest show of our time.
Welcome back to Beyond Markets. Just joining us, my guest today is Dayo Orolu. He's the Business Development and Government Affairs Agent at Siemens. He's my guest today, and we've been exploring Nigeria's Presidential Power Initiative. And before we left off, Dayo was just giving us a brief run-through as to the origin of this project and where they're at currently. And Dayo, I'd like to know why it took us this long to get to this phase where we are at right now.
Thank you for that. You know, this is a very big project involving, many stakeholders at different levels. You have the private sector stakeholders, you have the government stakeholders, you have the German government, you also have Siemens. And so when we started in 2018, the first few months we spent just meeting with everyone, working together for us to have a common understanding of what the problems really are and what are the immediate priorities for the government, for the stakeholders, the DISCOs, the TCN, the regulator, the BPE, the Ministry of Power, and everyone. And after that, we now came up with working with the DisCos to get their priority project. And that also took a long time to be able to validate. We had several workshops with the DisCos, we had several workshops with TCN, several workshops together with all the parties, looking at from the distribution side, from metering side, from transmission side, and the need to also carry every stakeholder along. They need to make sure that everyone's views and interest and understanding are well considered in coming together with the project. So, which is why now we have something that is implementable that we're happy to move forward with. And you can see the level of excitement among all the stakeholders, even from the investors community, because this seems to be a very well thought out and detailed solution to the challenges facing the power sector. So it's taken almost 2 years to get to where we are, but we are happy that we have something that is workable, something that is implementable, something that we believe is going to bring the required solution to the problems facing the sector.
All right, so we can officially say that phase one of this project has begun and the target is 7,000 megawatts. But what are the timelines we're looking at to achieve this?
Yes, so yes, we're starting with the pre-engineering now. And once all the contractual, the financing processes for the phase one, then we'll start the phase one in implementation and execution. And of course, this is a very big engineering project. The government has set a timeline of 2021 for that. We work with the government to make sure that, as soon as we start this project, Nigerians begin to feel the impact, they begin to see results. We don't just want to be mentioning, statistics and data online or on paper. We want Nigerians to begin to see the impact of this project. We want the DisCos to see changes, reduction in their ATC and C losses. We want them to see improvement in their operating efficiencies. We want the consumers, both industrial and residential and private and individuals, to begin to feel the impact of this project as quickly as possible.
All right, now, but let's break it down phase by phase now and try to understand what the goal is or the achievement is for each phase. So I understand that the first phase is 7,000 megawatts, and phase two, you're trying to get about 11,000 megawatts on board, and at the final stage, you're going to be looking at 25,000 megawatts. I'm trying to understand what each stage entails and how you're going to be dealing with the players in there across board.
Okay, the phases are all linked. So we are starting with phase one, like you said, move the operational capacity of the grid to 7,000 megawatts. So in phase two, we are looking at moving that to 11,000. So it means we look to build more transmission substations, more distribution substations. They also involve building more transmission and distribution lines. It will also involve building more equipment and installing more product. Also maybe several other things, digital systems that will help to manage the grid more effectively and efficiently. The stakeholders are still the same. It's still the same DisCos that we're talking to, we're working with. The TCN is also a big stakeholder in that, the Ministry of Power, the Bureau of Public Enterprise, and several other government agencies. Now in phase three, which we are looking at 25,000 megawatts, is to now build that same infrastructure to be able to evacuate and dispatch 25,000 megawatts of electricity in the grid. We'll also be looking at the generation side in phase three. So government has also planned a lot of power generation projects, some hydro, some gas-fired projects that are also under development. And those should be coming on stream by the time we get to phase three of the project. And there are also several other, private sector funded power projects that will also be coming on stream during that time. So effectively, we believe that by the end of this project, Nigeria should be proud of having a minimum of 25,000 megawatt available in the grid that's going to be supplied to both industrial and residential consumers to grow the economy of Nigeria.
All right, now let's talk about the money now and understand how much it's going to cost to get these phases sorted out, and understand, and also where the money is coming from. Or is it going to be solely Siemens and what the German government is putting on the table, or are you going to engage local investors here?
Okay, we are working with the government on that. We as Siemens will support the government under the G2G arrangement to facilitate German ECA-covered financing for the project. Of course, we're also talking to a number of Nigerian banks as well to see how the whole financing can work out in the interest of the project and in the interest of Nigeria. So we are talking to not just German banks now, we're also engaging several other stakeholders within that area just to make sure that the financing is available for the implementation of the project.
All right, now looking at the scope of this work, it's quite a whole lot. You're going to be doing a lot of rehabilitation, you're going to be doing upgrades, you're going to be doing expansion of transmissions, and I also understand that you're going to be doing transmission and distribution networks and power generation. Quite a lot, if you ask me, but I'm trying to understand how you're fitting the stakeholders into your plans and how cooperative they've been so far.
Yeah, very well. We've enjoyed the cooperation of the DISCOs, of TCN, of the Ministry of Power. I mean, the Honorable Minister of Power, Engineer Saleh Mama has been very, very helpful. The BPE under Dr. Alex Oko has been also very, very helpful. The Office of the Chief of Staff, the Ministry of Finance, the NEC under Professor James Momo as well. So we've worked together with all these stakeholders in the past 2 years. And also, one critical success factor in the execution of the project is also ability to work, with local suppliers, local engineering contractors who are going to be part of the value chain in executing this project. In every we have worked, whether in Nigeria and every other place across the world, we have demonstrated, capacity to work with local contractors, at different levels, at different scales, to bring about the successful execution of projects of this type. And so in Nigeria, it's also a very important part of the project, working with local contractors, suppliers of different services and products and activities in ensuring the execution of the project.
Quite a lot, because I'm trying to imagine that definitely it's important to build the capacity of the local players in there and also create jobs. I'm trying to understand if there are any targets set by Siemens on this front.
Yes, we are aligned with the government's target on this. We are working with the government to make sure that the president's objective, the overall objective for the project is achieved. At the end of the day, we are bringing in our integrity, we are bringing in our project excellence, we are bringing in our competence and expertise built, over the years, over centuries of working across the world and in about 50 years of being in Nigeria. So we are deploying all of this experience, all of this expertise, our latest technologies. We are bringing all of that, our innovation, into play in the execution of this project.
All right, now I'd like to get to one other area that I know can be very tricky, and it is the area of tariffs. And I've seen how things have been so far with talks around trying to get cost-reflective tariffs going in the system here. I'm trying to know what Siemens' approach is going to be towards the issue of tariffs.
The federal government is handling that. The regulator NEC, they are working on that. Also, I'm also aware they are getting support from some development agencies like the World Bank, for instance. And they're also working with all the stakeholders, the DISCOs, the GENCOs, the transmission company, even the National Assembly, in ensuring we have the appropriate cost-reflective tariff structure for the sector in Nigeria. So there are several factors, several issues involved in this. They are basically, economic and commercial issues. which the government is very much keenly interested in, and they're working to resolve all the issues in favor of all the stakeholders and the Nigerian people.
All right, because it's quite a lot when you talk about tariffs there, and people want to use power, but sometimes are very reluctant to pay in this part of the world, as we've kind of seen. But I'd like to know how you're going to deal with the issues around energy theft and the type of tech solutions you'll be bringing on board.
Okay, of course, from the technical side, we are bringing a lot of digital solutions, the latest technologies for all the equipment, all the products that we are supplying. And of course, security, safety, and they are also of topmost priority to us. It's part of our project excellence, part of our processes and procedures. And so we'll be bringing in all of this to make sure that all the equipment that are being supplied, are being installed, are being commissioned, are well secured, are well protected, are put together in very safe and conducive environment. But of course, we also rely on the support of the federal government, in terms of access to site, in terms of providing security in the very challenging areas, in terms of also supporting with logistics and all of that. So we are working with the federal government, and we have the assurance of the government to make everything, whatever is necessary, whatever is required, to grant Siemens access to site, for us to work in a very safe and secure environment, for equipment, for personnel, for everyone, for Siemens employees and non-Siemens employees, everyone involved in the execution of the project. So we are working together with the government to make sure all these things are in place.
Oh, no, but then there's a huge metering gap in Nigeria, and definitely to identify who your customers are and how they're going to be charged, and and the kind of tariffs they're going to pay plays a whole lot in the entire value chain. And I'm trying to understand the approach Siemens is going to take into metering.
So part of the project in the PPI is the implementation of the advanced metering infrastructure. And so this is a back-end solution that's going to be able to communicate to all smart meters installed by the DISCOs in the grid for all their customers, at different levels. And this system is also going to come with the advanced revenue infrastructure, so that all those meters are prepaid. Consumers will have to pay in advance, to have electricity supply to their places. And so we believe that this system is going to help the DISCOs to manage the billing and collection part of their business very, more efficiently going forward. It's going to help them, alongside so many other solutions that have been implemented to bring down the aggregated technical, commercial, and collection losses, which is at a very unbearable level at this time. And it's also going to make data available at the national level, for planning, or it's going to make the whole system, the whole power sector transparent, so it will help with transparency and visibility, for all the necessary stakeholders to see what is going on within the sector. So this is what we are doing, in addition to what the DISCOs are doing to meter their customers at different levels, in addition to also regulations that NEC is also coming up with to ensure metering of customers. So we are, through the PPI, implementing the advanced metering infrastructure, which is also going to help to bring all this together and to bring more transparency, efficiency into the management of the commercial and collection segment of the power sector going forward.
All right, then definitely quite a lot of work cut out for you as you embark on this this journey here in Nigeria, to ramp up the electricity supply in the country. I wish you all the best as you go on. I've been speaking to Oludayo Orolu, he's the Business Development and Government Affairs Manager at Siemens. And that's it on Beyond Markets, and thank you so much for watching the show. Remember, you can catch the show at 5 p.m. West Africa time daily and have access to all episodes of Beyond Markets on our website. That's at cnbcafrica.com. From me and the team, enjoy the rest of your day.